Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. First up for T&D today, we have a new tea on the show. It is the sweet and spicy original from Good Earth. We have had this tea for clearly a long time, as it has been beaten up. It has moved a couple of times with us, but it's very good. I don't know that I've ever actually had it before, as I was just surprised when I took my first sip of it right before I started rolling. It very much lives up to its name. It's kind of like almost an apple chai, kind of like sweet, spicy deal. It's very good. And inside of it, we have the Sweater mug, as it is officially the holiday season. It has been officially the holiday season for a while. I am a early holiday kind of person, so for me it has been. For the rest of the world, they're caught up now. This here, we are in the final week of season 4 of the show here. So I want to go ahead and I want to make all the episodes this week holiday themed to whatever degree I possibly can. So let's go ahead and let's kick off into what we're actually talking about here. We are talking about 5 things that you can go ahead and use in your holiday one-shots to help accentuate the experience. They are wildly different things. They are just a random smattering of things that I realized were, potentially very good mechanics to go ahead and make sure people knew about, make sure people were thinking about as they were going ahead and building their holiday one-shots, because they can really, really help drive your game a little bit more, or give it a little bit more of the feel you were actually going for. So, like I said, wildly different, wild, all over the place kind of thoughts to them. So let's go ahead and let's dive straight into it. These 5 things are assuming that you're going to be running. Really, it could work for any one shot, but it is assuming you're running probably no more than like 3 sessions with each of these games that you're going to be running over the holidays. So, first and foremost, one that's kind of a downer, but one that I think that not enough people remember. It's really boring. It's on your character sheet. Exhaustion. Exhaustion, I think, is a wildly underused mechanic. I think that it is a fantastic mechanism to be able to actually give players real repercussions for their actions without having to, like, just hit them again. Just hit them again. Just hit them again. Exhaustion is something that serves as a literal countdown clock for things, which can be good for putting on the pressure for your players if you need to. But I picked Exhaustion for this specifically because of how well it works with like a cold sort of setting. A lot of people who are running holiday one-shots will be running them as like frigid kind of adventures, most of them themed around, North Pole, the Arctic in general, like whatever holiday you are trying to capture. There is a good possibility that you are going to be running something cold, and cold is really, really good for exhaustion, because you can just ask your players for checks to like try and fend off the cold. If they fail, they take a level of exhaustion, and they need to figure out a way to get around that. This is obviously for the DM that wants to run a more like, we're going to call it hardcore, even though hardcore is kind of the wrong word for it, a more hardcore, quote unquote, holiday one-shot. This is for the people who are looking for like strategy and like survival kind of stuff, where this sort of thing might really well come in handy. If you are not running that kind of game, don't necessarily just ignore exhaustion. When you're building your characters, go ahead, put that on in there, because I think it's a really cool mechanic. I'm kicking around the idea in my head of creating a Santa Claus monster, because in my house we celebrate Christmas, and so that is the one I'm most familiar with. Kicking around the idea of creating a Santa Claus monster and then going ahead and running through it with you guys for the final episode of season 4. But we'll see if that ends up happening or not. But know that he would have some exhaustion mechanics in there. So exhaustion, I think, is a super, super good mechanic. I think everybody should be using it more often in their games, and I cannot recommend it enough, quite frankly. Moving right forward from that, we're going to actually jump around in my list so that it makes a little bit more sense here. In addition to exhaustion, Something else that can sort of play into that exhaustion idea are regional / layer effects. We see these all the time with those big monsters, particularly, obviously, my favorites, dragons. They have layers, they have layer actions, layer effects, they have regional effects, all that sort of thing. Other things will have regional effects as well, things like an Elderbrain, things like an Archfey, that sort of thing. But your, big, bad, whatever in your Holiday One-Shot can actually have a regional effect that makes the inciting incident something that is actually happening. For example, say it is taking place in a traditionally tropical town. Suddenly, it's snowing out of nowhere, and somebody has to figure out why it's snowing. That is a perfectly good way to, one, work in the Arctic cold kind of thing, if that is what you're going for, and two, have your player characters go, oh, we need to figure out what's wrong with that. We are the ones that are best suited for the job, because that is what the story says. Haha. And so just having those regional and layer effects can really help out. And obviously, what I've described there is just regional. Layer effects, if you don't know what they are, go check out a Ancient Dragon stat block, an Elderbrain stat block, most of the Devils stat, like upper level Devils stat blocks. Long story short, they are things that can happen on different initiative counts to help change the terrain to make it a little bit more difficult for the party. And having these layer effects can be something that is really super specialized and really super fun to give you a lot more flavor in your game. So a good one that I like to throw in there every once in a while is spawning of enemies or something like that. So let's say it's Christmas. Let's say you're running a Christmas one-shot where you are fighting Santa Claus. This is just me sort of like spitballing here, thinking on the fly. Probably going to throw this in the Santa stat block if I do end up making it. On layer count, or on initiative count 20, layer action kicks in, and the layer action Santa's Little Helpers is picked, and 3 like CR 1/2 elves pop up from nowhere and act on initiative count 10, so the players have a little bit of time to actually go ahead and fight them if necessary. If not, then they don't. Things like that, things that just sort of like help add flavor to the actual environment that you are going to be in, because so much of it is all about that environment, and that environment is so important. So often it is literally a snow globe, for lack of a better way to say it. If there's a crack in it, suddenly everything goes sideways. It starts leaking. It turns into a mess. But if you can keep everything contained in that snow globe, it is a lovely little thing that in its own self-contained little world, which can be helped by regional and layer effects, including things like heavy fog, mountains moving, whatever. Sliding on down, we're going to go ahead and start getting to like a little bit more mechanical stuff. I know I led with exhaustion, but that's like player mechanical. We're talking metagame mechanical a little bit more here. First on this one, and so third overall here. Not a rule that's in the book anywhere, actually. This is the only one that is not actually written down in the book somewhere, but it is one that I think is very important sometimes when you're running these one-shots. People will overlook it, and then they will be stuck, and they'll go, okay, and they'll kind of do it anyway. Instant attunement to items. This is a big one for me. If you're running a one-shot and you want to have like super powerful magical items or something that the players have to come across, because it makes more sense for them to come across them than to just sort of start with them and have them be like weird latent effects, is instant attunement. It can be that the weapon or item bonds with them when they pick it up. It can be that you can flavor it however you want to. But instant attunement allows you to keep the pace of the story moving forward, where they don't have to like go, okay, we have to sit down for an hour now so that we can all take a rest and do this thing. You can just have an instantly attuned item. This is really good if you are running a holiday-themed one-shot, because one of the things that you can do is you can plant gift boxes. As far as I am aware, pretty much every holiday has gifts associated with them in some capacity. You can have gift boxes, gift bags, whatever you want, set up in different places. They have to adventure past them or something like that. They have to adventure past manufacturing lines, something. And they see something and they pick it up, and it instantly attunes to them. They immediately get all of the benefits or whatever it is. These items of legend, these magic things that will help them wildly in the confrontation to come. Instant attunement. is a very useful tool for Dungeon Masters to have, because it just lets you like run with it a little bit more. It lets you go a little bit crazier. You don't have to start the characters off with these amazing things. You can have things that are built into world lore. You can have things that are built on flavor. If they are playing normal characters from like a normal world and they get teleported to the North Pole to fight Santa Claus, they can instantly attune to the candy cane lance of the ancients or whatever. You know, you get the point. You get where I'm going with it. You can do a whole lot with instant attunement in terms of flavoring things to the world, in terms of actually giving players things that are interesting to use. And by extension of that second one, you go ahead and you can raise the CR and level of the one-shot as a whole, because you don't have to be accounting for like very rare legendary type items being already in place. You can have that just be a snap of the fingers kind of thing, and it works super well. So instant attunement number 3, definitely look into it, think about it, maybe give it a shot. If you don't like it, it's a one shot and you never have to use it again. So 2 more things here. First off, let's go ahead. We are now in the back of the Dungeon Master's Guide. This is the Dungeon Master's Guide workshop. These are rules that I've actually talked about on the show before that I think are super useful and are really good to play with in one-shots as a testing ground for them, but also they help move the story forward. The first one is the rest system, the epic heroism or gritty realism rest system, depending on the vibe you are trying to go for. It is going to be better for your players to be able to have a full sort of like understanding of the resting system before you start. If you're using the standard D&D rest system, great. Just don't mess with it. It's fine. But if you want to try one of these out, epic heroism, for people who don't know, short rests take 5 minutes and long rests take an hour. You might be saying that's insane, but what it does is it allows your players to reset quickly. It allows them to get back into it. There's a reason it's called epic heroism. And more importantly for you as the dungeon master, or you as the one-shotter, it allows you to keep pushing the story forward. It allows you to constantly be challenging your players at their peak performance, because theoretically they will always be able to be at their highest level, or at least they will be able to sit down for 5 minutes somewhere and roll up. You can throw bigger, heavier, harder things at them in a row without it suddenly becoming a real massive danger that they're not going to make it through with enough resources to actually deal with the final thing. Because if you are balancing encounters, it becomes difficult to balance a chain of encounters because you don't know what they're going to do, and it flowers exponentially from that first encounter as you are trying desperately to make sure you know what is going on. If you go ahead and use the epic heroism system, it will go ahead and it will mitigate that a lot. On the flip side, if you are using the gritty realism system, make sure they know this. Short rests are 8 hours, long rests are a full 7 days. Essentially what it does is it wipes out the ability to rest for your party in this one shot. Because they will have to sacrifice a full 8 hours if they want to go ahead and have even just a short rest. And the goal of a one-shot is to just keep the story moving forward. This is why I think that these 2 rest systems are really well suited for one-shots. Epic heroism means that you are constantly resetting, constantly going forward. Gritty realism means that you simply don't have time for a rest, because with a one-shot, you are not going to like sit down and narrate out spending 8 hours to rest without major repercussion happening, because so much of it is happening so quickly. There's no real time to stop. So if you take away or just elongate the necessity or the necessary time, suddenly a rest is basically out of the picture. But if they really want to sacrifice some stuff, they could potentially pull off a little bit of rest. So I like using these in one-shots because I think that they do help move things along very well, and that is a big thing for me. Pacing is such a big thing. And our 5th point here, building on the pacing thing, this is one I believe I've talked about this on the show, maybe I haven't yet, but the number 5 here, one that I think everybody should try at least once in their lifetime, if nothing else, hero points in 5th edition. This is basically a personal pool of inspiration for players. This is a really fantastic mechanic, especially in a one-shot, because so much of a one-shot hinges on players actually completing different hurdles they're presented with. Long story games, they can find narrative ways around things. With a one-shot, you kind of have to go in a straight line forward with a little bit of variation here and there, but it is mostly dead forward. And so, when you have them roll a check and they fail, and it's like, okay, what do we do now? Enter hero points. Hero points, for anyone that does not know, in a traditional game, is a small pool of d6s equal to 5 plus half of the character's level rounded down. Meaning at level 1 you have 5. Meaning at level 2 you have 6. Meaning at level 3 you have 6. Level 4 you have 7, etc., etc. These usually are spread. You get that pool of them for the entirety of that level. When you level up, you lose them, and you gain the new number based on however many you would get for your level. In a one-shot, just having them have 3, 4, 5 of these make it so that you can actually like clutch some of these rolls. You can power the story forward. If they are presented with a door and the person who is playing a rogue walks up and tries to lockpick it and fails, what do you do? Like, it can be fun for them to sit there and try and beat down the door then, but if nobody is playing a like 20 strength character, it might take way too long and it might really derail the story. So having the rogue have that ability to just go and d6, okay, and we're good, sometimes that is all you need. There is the caveat with hero points where if you fail a death save, you can spend a hero point to change that death save into a success. That is something else you could do with it instead. It could be a series of points where they, instead of being d6s, if you fail a roll, you can flip it to a success, period. And that can be something that's very powerful for helping move forward a story in a very truncated period of time. Hero points are something that you can play with. You can play with the way that you want to implement them, but a one-shot is a really good place to go ahead and try them out. So, those are the 5 things that I think you should think about adding, 5 mechanical things you should think about adding to your holiday one-shots. That is exhaustion, regional layer effects, instant attunement, epic heroism rest or gritty realism rests, and hero points. So, let me know if you guys are going to be using any of them. Let me know if you guys are running holiday one-shots. I think it's a really fun thing to, like, you know, be able to figure out. But let's go ahead and let's talk about the shows we have today. In no particular order, we have Diary of a Dragon Pit, Star Wars First Resistance, Dungeons and Daddies, Bombarded, Heck of a D&D, Glass Cannon, and The Queer Questers. Go ahead and check them out, guys. Let them know that I sent you, because someday somebody is going to say something to me about it, and I'm going to think that it's very funny. But until then, I'm going to keep asking you guys to tell them that I sent you. So, that brings me to the end of what I have to talk to you guys about today. So thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much in particular to my subscribers. You guys are the ones that make this show possible. If you're interested in subscribing, if you're on YouTube, there's a button below the videos, to the side of the video, somewhere. It's somewhere. And if you are getting me in your ear holes with a podcast, I'm on where you can get podcasts. Yep, there we go. That is the end of that sentence. So, with all that said, I guess, don't forget, everybody, drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.